What's up, everybody? Evan here for Grips.com, continuing with Project Get Me Stackin. And today we got a question that's going out to pretty much exclusively my American friends, although for some of you players who live in areas that are restricted to certain sites only, like you only have a couple to choose from. I know people in Turkey deal with the situation, maybe people in Greece. This video also goes out to you because it's about relocating to play online poker so that you can play on all the sites and have the best chance at maximizing your earning potential. Let's get to the question. Hey Evan, thanks for all your videos. I am now a winning cash game player. I am currently living in the United States and am stuck playing on Merge and really miss the big action on Stars and Tilt, but would really love to be able to hit those soft sites at Party, 888, etc. I love poker and play almost every day, and I feel like I have what it takes to be a pro grinder. Every day when I'm grinding, I always think about packing the bags and heading for the border and actually making a run at it. I know the $700 to $800 a month I make is not close enough to make this possible, but Merge only really offers micro games, and I would love to get my feet wet at 50 NL and 100 NL. And that's going to be the case. That your earning potential may really be stifled by the fact that you don't have a ton of games to choose from. So if you can move to a place where you have access to more games and more sites, as long as you think you have the skills to beat them, it may really improve your earning potential. So what does it really take to make this profitable? Moving to Canada, Mexico, or Europe? What win rates at 50 NL or 100 NL for 100 to 200,000 hands a month would be comfortable to live on? I am sure you have some experience from this, as from what I can tell, you are doing somewhat of the same thing. Not sure if you're American or Canadian, can't hear the accent, but I would love to hear about your experiences. Well, I am Canadian, but I can still offer some insight on this topic. I'm currently taking college classes and only have about a year and a half until I finish my major in accounting. I plan on building a role until I am done with school, then we'll really consider the move. I really do appreciate all you do to help the poker community. With all the time and effort you donate to us, you really do deserve endless run good. Get stacking, Brandon. So, good question. It's a big one. And just for the sake of that was a really long intro, let's go straight to the presentation, shall we? Now this question is one, because it's so big, it really deserves some big consideration if you're serious about it. Because relocating to play online poker, it isn't like trying a new dish at a restaurant or taking a different route to school. It's a big commitment that requires a lot of thought. This is along the same lines as buying a new pet that you're going to have for a long time, maybe slightly more serious, maybe slightly less, but I feel like it's around the same ballpark. But this decision is one that has the potential to make for a life-changing experience. So it's worth it if you think you've got what it takes and can handle the adjustments. Before I get into my points about how to evaluate whether or not relocating to play online poker makes sense, I want to make it clear, and this big box probably accomplishes that, is that you have to do your research. I can't tell you everything about the topic. You're going to have to figure out some of this stuff on your own, but I am going to point you in the right direction. There are many wells of information on this topic, travel websites, forums, blogs, lots of different places where you can get information, but it's important you do your due diligence. The more planning that goes into it, the more prepared you are for what you're getting into, the better your chances will be of coming out profitable. I personally didn't have to relocate for online poker, being from Canada and all, but I have done a bit of traveling to non-first world countries, and it definitely requires an open mind and some adjustment. If you don't do your research, you may end up like me and traveling to a place where the internet connection is extremely poor. And trust me, that's not a good scene when you're trying to, build up your role online. So if you choose to move to a place like Mexico, Costa Rica, or Thailand, you may find you don't have all the perks of home, but you may also find that it's much cheaper as an option than moving somewhere like Canada or Europe. And you may find you like the culture better. You may find you like the people better. So don't automatically write off the third world or like second world developing countries just cause. So the first step you should take when evaluating this decision is accounting for the costs of relocating. Sites like Airbnb are very useful for this sort of thing and allow you to speak with the property owner directly before committing so that you can get a better feel for what kind of area you'll be living in rather than just basing your decision on one picture you saw on the internet. Remember, looks can be deceiving, and remember that your comfort is going to be very important to your success. If you've been to college, you have some experience taking care of your own bills, but if you're used to living at home with your parents, this is going to be a big shock. Nobody will be paying for your food, internet won't be free, and there's rent as well. You have to add up all of your variable costs, those which you will have to pay every month, to figure out what sort of budget you need to be working with. Just having enough money to get on the plane and get to the place and cover like the first month's rent or even a few months' rent is not enough to justify relocating. Living isn't cheap. Don't forget, you're probably going to want to have some fun when you're traveling too, so you got to make sure you have money for entertainment, and the bigger the cushion, the better. You also need to leave yourself a cushion because things can happen that you just never foresaw. You have to be ready for them. You may hear about, some awesome weekend trips, some excursions you can do, or you may meet some people that you want to go out and spend time with. The bigger cushion you have, the more able you will be to say yes to these opportunities, and these opportunities are what traveling is really all about. Next, compare your cost of living abroad to your cost of staying in the USA or wherever you're from. You may even find that if you pick the right place, you can actually save money by moving abroad. In some places, food will be cheaper, accommodation will be cheaper, and booze will probably be cheaper. But that shouldn't be important. Booze should definitely be one of the lowest cost-intensive items on your budget because you probably don't want to be having too much of it when you're out there trying to make money and playing your A game. Next, try to project how much you think you can make per month. Factor in your win rate, how much you think you can grind, rake back, other promotions, VIP programs, all that stuff. Factor it all in and try to get as clear a picture as possible, but be honest with yourself. Poker players are notorious for giving themselves a little bit more credit than they deserve and overestimating their earning capacities. The more honest you are with yourself on this front, the more likely the work trip will be to go the way that you expect, rather than going in an unforeseen direction and you having to do a lot of figuring out on the fly, which is not too much fun. And hey, if you err on the side of caution on this front and do well, that's just going to be extra play money for you to work with. And it's way better to be in that sort of situation dealing with extra play money you didn't account for than coming up short due to poor planning and not being able to cover the rent. Once you get there, wherever you go to relocate, and the best way to do this would be to somehow have a friend that knows the area or someone you can meet there that can show you around. But if not, you can take your time to figure it out. Get to know the area a little bit. Maybe you got a tour book. Get comfortable in your surroundings. Find out what the best places are to get food at, best places to relax, best places to have fun. The more time you spend doing this and the better of a job you do with this, the more money you're going to be able to save, the more planned out your trip's going to be, and it's going to go the way you want it to. But once you've taken a day or two to do that, focus on your grind. If you're moving out of the country to play online poker, your main focus should be playing online poker. While it will be very tempting, you have to avoid a lot of the distractions that will be made available to you until you've earned them. Doesn't mean you can't ever enjoy them. You just got to wait till the work is done. Work hard so that you can play hard, but always make the grind your priority. Don't let the lifestyle consume you. It is a major downfall of most failed poker pros. Now, if you're really planning on doing this, which I think is awesome, by the way, I would suggest going with a friend. Traveling alone is tough if you're going away for like a week. And we're talking about moving away for a long period of time here. If you have someone with you, it will be easier to stay on track, easier to stay sane, since you'll have someone going through the same experiences you are. You can share with them the trials and tribulations, and it's just easier to be comfortable when you have someone there to, rely on, support on, to just get through things with. Again, the forums are good for this. If you don't have real life poker friends who are down to take this shot, and the best way to get better at poker is to live with other poker players trying to do the same thing. So if you can find at least 1 or 2 people to join you on your journey, it will make the work much more productive, and big one, it will make the trip that much more fun when it's time to enjoy it. Leaving home and going out into the world is great. You get to see a whole new side of the world, and you get to learn more about yourself by putting yourself in a new environment and situations. You get to learn about new cultures. You get to learn about new people. You just get to see so much. And the more people you're with, the more awesome ideas will come for activities to do and sights to see. And the more people you'll have to share the experience with, talk about it, and really solidify it as an amazing part of your life. And if you're going to fly around the world, and you're going to be away for 5 or 6 months, make sure you end the trip with a well-deserved vacation. You're going to be close to some really cool islands and other sites, maybe even some wonders of the world, mountains, volcanoes, pyramids, who knows? So take advantage of your location. Get out there and see what the world has to offer. As long as you've earned it, it will be the sweetest thing you could imagine, and it will make your experience of taking a chance one that you'll never forget. Pretty deep, huh? I guess you probably thought I was just going to give you some numbers you could think about, but it's all about planning the trip the way you want it to be and making it your own experience. There don't need to be like super strict restrictions. If you're studying the game, you're working hard, and you're able to beat the game at home, you're probably going to be able to beat the game on the road. The key is going to be, being comfortable. So make sure you know how to take care of yourself food-wise, and make sure you have good accommodation, because if you can't sleep because you're in a bad area or there's construction going on all the time, it's going to be really hard to focus when you are awake, because you're just going to be so sleep deprived. Likewise, if you're worried about eating, if you're worried about your own fucking survival, it's going to be really hard to be thinking about making great poker decisions when you're worried about where dinner is going to come from. So that planning is pretty important. And I know I didn't get into specific numbers, but that's because they're pretty flexible. If you think you're going to be like a modest earner, you go to Thailand. Yeah, the flight's expensive, but once you get there, living's really cheap. If you think you're going to be able to crush it and you want all the amenities you're used to from home, that's when you hit up Canada, Toronto or Vancouver. Montreal's pretty cool too. Depending on where you want to relocate, the minimum threshold to make it doable will shift, but you can get this sort of information from browsing through the forums, finding out what the average cost of living in different locations is. Just remember that in general, you're going to get what you pay for. So the more you're paying for rent and such, generally the more developed a place will be and the more amenities will be around. This is not always the case, but in general, you are getting what you pay for in terms of a standard of living. There are a couple of services that help with this sort of thing, but I'd really recommend just going through Airbnb.com. That's AIRBNB.com. Sick drive, but whatever. And then spending time on forums, both poker forums and travel forums, to really get a feel for what the different locations are like. Take your time. Go through all the options. Really think about it. Don't just try to go for the first one, because you have the chance. You're going to spend a lot of time at this place. You have the chance to find, you could find a paradise where you can work on your game and you can just be the happiest person ever, as long as you plan it out properly. So anyone who's planning to take this shot, I have the utmost respect for you. I really hope you can make a profitable work trip out of it and have a fantastic, maybe even a life-changing experience on the road. Just be sure to leave yourself with an exit strategy if things don't go as planned. No matter how confident you are in your abilities and in the situation, you always want to leave yourself out. As for what I would recommend, well, you guys know I'm on the A team. But doesn't mean it's the only place worth checking out. If I could go wherever I wanted, I'd probably go Costa Rica. That's because I love the warm environment. So that's me. But I mean, if you want to come to Canada, join the A team. Feel free. We'll be here. So I would love to hear your comments, guys. Where you're thinking about going, or comments from anyone who took this plunge and what the experience was like. So I bet there are some really cool travel stories out there. If you have any questions for the project, please send them on over to evan@grips.com with the subject line "Get Me Stackin." Hopefully I can answer your question and help you get stacking. And of course, if you're enjoying these videos, you're finding they're helping your game, please show your support and subscribe to the channel below. And that way you will be notified anytime a new video is released. We're going to keep coming at you with videos every week, multiple times a week, because people are seeing results, and I want to see you guys getting more and more results and achieving everything you wanted. Okay, so that's going to do it for me. I hope you found the video insightful and informative. This has been Evan for Grips.com, saying peace.